After last season's dove opener, I had a pool party and dove cook off at my house. And over several adult beverages, my hunting buddies and I started talking about old side by side shotguns. Somehow, this conversation kind of evolved into planning a classic side by side pheasant hunt. As the alcohol kept flowing, rules for this challenge were developed by us. We had to buy vintage side by side shotguns that were 50 years or older. That day, about six of us committed to doing this. And to make things really challenging, we could only spend $1,000 or less on these side by side shotguns, and that's before taxes and shipping. And we had to prove it with a receipt. The competition was actually really entertaining because we were often bidding against each other on websites like Gunbroker, and we didn't even know it. So we were actually driving up the price on each other. But we decided there's only going to be two winners to this: the person who purchased the coolest side by side shotgun for $1,000 or less, and the person that shot their gun the best during the pheasant hunt. So let's have a look at some of the side by sides that we chose. When I decided to do this challenge, I made my own criteria for my search. And that was to find a 12 gauge with at least 2 3/4 inch chambers. It had to have proofed barrels, double triggers. I didn't want fully choked barrels, and I personally didn't want a gun with monoblock construction. I could have easily bought an old Stevens 311 for less than $500, and I could have called it good. But I wanted to maximize my $1,000 budget and get something with a little bit more bling. And, it's just something I've never used before. I wasted lots of time over months bidding on Model 23s, early Browning BSSs, and some nice English guns, but I just really couldn't win a bidding war on those. As a matter of fact, most of the old English guns and old American side by side shotguns actually had 2.5 inch chambers, and we can't use lead ammunition in California, so we need to use bismuth loads in our old guns, and I'd rather do that with 2 3/4 inch chambers. So let me tell you about what I spent my $1,000 on. For this challenge, I bought a 1954 JP Sauer and Son, and this is a 12 gauge gun with 2 3/4 inch chambers. This gun was made in Suhl, Germany, which was Germany's gun making hub for centuries. And being a 1954 gun, this was made under Soviet occupation, which does decrease its value a little bit. But even though this gun is in great shape, it did have a small hairline crack in the stock that I repaired, which undoubtedly also lowered the price of this gun. But that small crack was a really easy fix. And as you can see, most of the original factory bluing remains on the barrels, and this is a quality demi-block gun right here. You can see the marking right here. Barrels with 3 rings on them are made with original Krupp steel, and barrels with the 4 intertwined rings like this one has are made using an exact copy of Krupp steel used by occupied Germany at the time. This gun is just very tight and sturdy. And the action and triggers on this thing are just extremely smooth. And this gun has obviously been babied over the last 70 years. And I shot a patterning board with this gun, and both 28-inch barrels are perfectly regulated. Now, if you look at the water table here, you could see that this side-by-side shotgun was made in June of 1954. You can also see right here, this is a 12 gauge with 70 millimeter chambers, meaning it's a 2 3/4 inch chamber gun. You can see this marking right here that these barrels were nitro-proof and certified to handle the higher pressures of smokeless powder loads. And this little symbol right here is the crest of the city of Suhl, Germany, to denote that it went through the Suhl proof house. The crown with the letter U is the final examination mark. The crown over the letter W means that the barrels are choked. And I measured the barrels, and both barrels are choked, improved, and modified, which is great for bismuth loads. Unlike most really old American and British side-by-sides, which were kind of made with light weight in mind, the Germans really over-engineered their side-by-sides, and these tend to be more rugged than the English or American early side-by-sides. The action on this is a very strong Anson and Dealey style box lock with a greener crossbolt. The overall fit and finish of this gun is just absolutely excellent. And this gun was made with the type of craftsmanship that'll just cost you big money in a shotgun made like this today. The gold plating of this gun really kind of gives it pimp status, I think, even though it's not really gold. So far, I'm very happy with my purchase, and I think I did pretty damn good with needing to stay within a $1,000 budget. And I tested this gun out during quail season, and it just exceeded my expectations.
I don't like double triggers, so I wanted a 20 gauge with a single trigger. The gun I bought is an old Savage Fox. This gun is not built on a monoblock and the quality seems decent. This gun locks up tight with no play or looseness. The right barrel is an improved cylinder, the left barrel is modified. It also has the front and mid bead. Both bores are nice and shiny. It has a case hardened finish and a fox on the bottom. As you can see, there's a fox. I'm going to call this shotgun Foxy. The Savage Fox guns are on the heavier side, which will tame recoil. This is basically a Stevens 311 with fancy wood and better fit and finish. I bought this gun for $700 on Gunbroker. The price is probably a little high, but it meets my needs, and it's in great condition.
So, Nubs here. I'm running a 1907-ish, there's no exact date on it, LC Smith, grade 00 shotgun. This is the one that predated the field grade. Out of about 48,000 of these things that were made, this is the most popular, most made LC Smith shotgun ever that they ever produced. It's been refinished in about 1970-ish. So they went through and refinished the woods, reblued the barrels, and then they went in and put in, as you can see, the jeweling in the side plate of the side locks. So far, the barrels are excellently regulated. I enjoy shooting this a lot more than any of my other double barrel guns as in over and unders. I've got a couple Satoris, I've got some Beretta 686, and by far this is the best shooting double barrel shotgun that I own. It's become one of my favorite, especially running the Boss Bismuth through it. Excellent accuracy, reaches way out there, does great, even with an improved modified barrels on this. So, great gun, love it, love the experience. Never probably would have ever bought a side-by-side shotgun until old Desert Dog decided to come up with a challenge that we all that we agreed to. But it's by far great with the English walnut, all the details to it, ivory beads on it. It's a great Great looking shotgun. Shoots great. Very enjoyable.
This is the 1971 Savage 550 in 12 gauge single trigger form. The Savage 550 was only built from 1970 to 1973 with his beautiful box lock case, hardened receiver, and vented rib that is very well regulated. This gun was near new when we acquired it for this hunt. It is choked, improved, modified. I really enjoyed shooting it and was able to not waste any shells and downed all the birds it was pointed at.
Because we live in California, we're going to be using these guns with non-toxic shot. You definitely don't want to use steel with these old side-by-side shotguns. So we're going to use bismuth on this hunt. Many of the old American side-by-sides like Parker and L.C. Smith and many old English guns have really thin barrel walls that have been known to crack or blow with high-pressure loads. Even though those barrels were proofed, most of them were only proofed to just over 10,000 psi. If you look at some of the new buffered 2 3/4 inch shotgun loads, some of those are now exceeding 12,000 psi. So to keep things safe, I'm using Boss Legacy 2 3/4 inch shells, which have a verified average pressure of around 9,700 psi. Side-by-side shotguns made before the 1950s shot paper shells with a small piece of felt separating the crude powder from the shot. And those loads were very low pressure by today's standards. When using really old side-by-side shotguns, you need to be really mindful of the loads that you feed in it, because when these blow up, they usually do it right where your support hand is, because that's really the thinnest part of most of these barrels. Heavy recoil loads are also hard on these old vintage wood stocks, so you want to do everything you can to avoid cracking them. So when using old side-by-side shotguns, make sure that you're shooting a relatively mild load. These 2 3/4 inch Boss Legacy shells pattern just amazing out of this old gun at lower pressures. Manufacturers can talk all day about barrel steel and competition forcing cones and custom chokes, but this 70-year-old shotgun throws actually a better pattern than most of my modern premium shotguns. And it kind of makes you wonder if shotgun technology has actually advanced as much as we think it has. And if modern technology is just more hype than substance. But I can tell you one thing, these old guns really love modern bismuth shells. Get it. Get it. So how you liking that old Savage side-by-side?
Good.
Shooting good for you? One-shot kills? Hell yeah. So how you liking that old L.C. Smith?
I like it. The second trigger is a little tricky to find sometimes, but it's getting the job done.
We got Becca here. A fox. Shooting a fox.
Really big.
Yeah. So this old JP Sauer and Sons, very satisfied with it. Great gun, great day hunting. Well, that was a really fun hunt, and these vintage side-by-sides are really growing on me. I'm glad I spent some time at the range with this gun before I took it out hunting, and I'm glad I went on that quail hunt before I took this on the pheasant hunt challenge, because on that first quail hunt I went on, I was pulling the first trigger twice a lot. But after using this gun extensively, I actually think I shoot it pretty damn good. I could honestly see myself using this gun hunting more often. Becca insists that she shoots her vintage side by side better than her expensive Berettas and Benellis. Nubs shoots his old side by side better than any of us, and Nubs definitely won the challenge on this one. He was just an absolute surgeon with his old LC Smith. But I think I won the prize for the coolest gun of the competition, but his LC Smith did outshoot everybody. So I highly recommend that you dust off that old side by side and experience the joy that these old guns can bring. Thank you for watching, and as always, good hunting.